In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Happy Palm Sunday. Really good to see you all and see friends who we missed and lots of people. It's the beginning of the Holy Week. It's the beginning of this season. And as in every year, we start with this enormous energy, and then we get tired, right? By Thursday, and then by Friday, definitely by Easter Eve. But this is great. Today, and I'm sure you've heard this before, or I maybe have mentioned this before, but today, as you read the Gospels, and there are kind of three scenes. If you look at a movie or a play or a show, there are three scenes. Two houses and a crowd. Two houses with two scenes, and the third scene is the crowd. But let me start with this verse. And I'm not going to put it on the screen because I want you to focus, okay? So listen, please. It's in the Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. We know it all. Jesus is saying, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him and he with me." Two houses. And both houses had doors, of course, right? Whenever you go into a house, you knock on the door. So these two houses, Jesus knocked. Allow me to just read it again, because I want it to be in the back of your mind as you hear this message. Behold, I stand. And by the way, this verse, sometimes we think it is for people who are away from the church or for the non-believers. Actually, no. This verse is for us, believers, who are here. So, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, there is a message, and then there's a response. Opens the door. I will come into him and dine with him, and he with me. Jesus, when he met with the Samaritan woman, he sent out the disciples to get some food. They came back. He finished his meeting with the Samaritan woman, and they told him, "Do you want to eat?" And that was his answer. "My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work." God is knocking on your doors now. God is knocking on your heart now. He's looking for rest, and he's looking for food. Scene number one. It was around yesterday or the days before God entered Jerusalem. Scene number one, the first house from John 12. And this is a lay person's house. It is normal house. It is not a church. It is not a temple. It's just my house and your house. Normal house. Then 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus was who had been dead, whom he had raised from the dead. There, they made him a supper. Jesus knocked on their door, and they opened the door, and they made him a supper. And Martha served, but Lazarus was one of those who sat at the table with him. Then Mary took a pound of very costly oil of spikenard, anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. And that house, normal house, like yours and mine, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. Jesus rested in that house, and he ate. And more than the physical food, his food was the will of God, where he restored Lazarus from the dead. Martha served with what she knew best, and Mary offered the perfume that was saved either for her wedding day or for her burial. She offered everything. And this scene, the entire house was filled with that aroma of worship. Like when you come to church and there's a good aroma of incense, you say, this is nice. Imagine the Lord knocks on your door and he rests. And the concept of rest is known from day one of the creation. If you remember Genesis 1, God created everything, and for every category, the heaven, the animals, the vegetations, he said that was good, right? And then he created Adam, and he said that very good, perfect. This is, and after he said very good, the Lord rested on the seventh day. My house, your heart, and my heart, can I prepare it, not only because of this season, but every day of my life, to be a house, to be a place where God can say, this is very good. This is my food. I love coming here. This is scene number one. Scene number two, another house, but was a temple. Officially, it was the house of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. And you know the story. We heard it 4 times today in the gospel, so I'm not going to repeat it. But you know what happened. And instead of rest, he got angry. And a side note, anger, of course, I have to do my psychology thing. Anger is not the problem. Anger is on the surface. What's beneath the anger is many things, many emotions, frustration, disappointment, feeling unfairly treated, injustice. So don't get stuck on the anger as just a feeling on the surface, or that he flipped the table. What's underneath the anger is all of these emotions. I'll say it again, feeling frustrated, unmet expectations, disappointed, disrespected, right? Whenever you or me, we feel disrespected, maybe it is hard to express that, so what is more accessible is we get angry, right? We clench our fists. We just want to do something that expresses our emotions. Jesus was frustrated. The Lord, and instead of saying, this is very good, he said, this is a house of thieves. You used it for the wrong purpose. And then he flipped the table, and you know the story. But then there is a transition here. Right after he flipped the table, and he said, my house shall be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. There is an immediate transition that says, then the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. What is this turning point that he cleansed? The temple. Then he felt rested. Then he was able to welcome the lame, the dysfunctional, the people that are disturbed, the lost, the blind. whoever had need but was rejected before, this house did not have the standards that God had for his people. Then he was able to heal. What does this tell me and tell you? If you are sick, not just sick in your body, but the worst sickness of all, the death and the sickness of your soul and your spirit. When you come to church and you feel nothing, when you pray to God in your own room, it feels that you are talking to the wall. When you whenever try to give a shot at the Bible and open it, it feels like a rock. This is the sickness. This is the death of the soul and the spirit when there is nothing left between you and God. What is left is rigid, cold rituals, like that temple in scene number 2. What was left? A bunch of people playing temple or playing church. In this environment, he does not rest. He rested and he was able to heal. If you need that healing today and every day of your life, it is not the other person's problems. It is not the church's problem. It is not God's problem. It is not any person's problem. It is my problem. And maybe I haven't been able to give God the heart, the mind where he rests. And he said, this is very good. Scene number 2, actually, like we saw this morning, if you come a bit early, we had the Zaffa, the procession, and the best thing today is that the children joined us. And that was the crowd, scene number 3, when the children, simple of heart, do not care about how they look, what they dress. They just came and shouted and celebrated and praised without agenda, just happy, just joyful. When was the last time I was just happy and simple and joyful in church? When was the last time? Scene number 3 is the best scene of all. People who just sang في الطريق فرشوا الأغصان وقطعوا القمصان from the joy. They didn't think, they just tore up their clothes and their shirts because the event was more important than what they felt was appropriate or not, what was they felt that they should do or should not. Just whatever in their hands they offered, because the event and the person of the event was the most important thing. I need to come to church when I am free from agendas. It's hard because we are human beings, I know that. We all have our agendas. We all have our expectations and conditions and arguments and disagreements and what if and what then. But if we can commit today, just be children again, simple again, be joyful again. How can you define the house of God then? By 2 things, simple, where God heals and where God rests. With all my love to my brothers, the deacons, and the alhan, and the rites and the rituals, beautiful, amazing tradition, we should keep it all the time. But this is not it. This is not it. What is it? Is that the Lord heals and the Lord rests. And after he hears, and while we are praising him with all these beautiful hymns, he can say, this is very good. And he knows our hearts. When he knocks on your heart, while you're praising, while you're taking communion, while you're doing the zepha, while you're coming every week to Holy Week and say 400 Kyrie eleisons on Good Friday, right? He can knock on that heart and say, this is very good. And even if you don't say 400 Kyrie eleisons, if you say one Kyrie eleison, one, Lord, have mercy on me, I am a sinner, the Lord will knock, will listen, and will say, yes, my daughter, yes, my son, I love you, I am resting here in your heart. This is the occasion today. The house of Bethany, where there is a personal relationship, there is rest, and with the children, when there is a simplicity of heart, joyful, praising, not thinking, not making any calculations about what is the consequences of when they tear up the shirts. It doesn't matter. I just felt happy today. Exactly like David, if you remember, when he received the Ark of Covenant, what did he do? Remember? He danced. David the king, right? He danced in front of the Ark of the Covenant. Why? He was happy. The Ark is here. God is here. Am I a king? I don't care. Am I a prophet? I don't care. Am I saying Psalms and they are 150 or less or more? I don't care. God is here. I just felt like dancing. Can we dance today? Don't answer me because I know the answer. But you get the point, right? You get the point. When you are with God face to face, maybe let your heart dance. Maybe let your spirit dance. Maybe let your soul dance and say, yes, Lord, I am here. I'll just end with this saying from a saying that we do not hear from that much. His name is St. Andrew of Crete. He says, let us run to accompany him as he hastens toward his passion and imitate those who met with him then. And not by covering his path with garments, olive branches or palms, but by doing all we can to prostrate ourselves before him, by being humble and trying to live as he would wish. Let us run to accompany him. And let us be very serious in our prayers. Let's be simple in our hearts. Let's be joyful in our service. To totally be immersed in the presence of God and his kingdom. To him all glory forever. Amen.